For a long time, Earth had stayed quiet. Humanity had learned about the wider galaxy decades ago, not through invasion or conquest, but through a calm signal received at the edge of the solar system. It was a message of invitation from the Galaxy Council, the grand alliance of hundreds of worlds. They promised knowledge, trade, peace, and unity among the stars. At first, Earth was thrilled. After centuries of dreaming about life beyond their world, they finally had proof. Governments cooperated, scientists celebrated, and the public believed it was the dawn of a golden age. But that dream began to fade the moment humanity arrived at the Council's first meeting. When Earth's ambassador, a quiet and thoughtful man named Daniel, stepped into the Council hall for the first time, he felt small among the towering species around him. The hall shimmered with light. Voices echoed in strange tones and translators hummed softly in his ear. Every seat represented a civilization older and grander than humanity's. He was told Earth would be welcomed as equals. Instead, what he found was laughter and whispers that followed every human step. The Council had already studied Earth before the first invitation. To them, humans were primitive, a young species that still argued over borders and burned fuel for energy. Their world was considered noisy and chaotic. When humans shared their ideas, the Council often smirked or made polite but dismissive comments. For a while, Daniel ignored it. He thought perhaps the other races just needed time to understand humans. But the mockery grew sharper with every meeting. They still measured time by the rotation of a single rock, one delegate sneered one day. They send metal shells into space and call it exploration, said another, laughing. They call themselves intelligent but still breathe unfiltered air. Daniel smiled through it all. He kept his calm, spoke politely, and took notes. The other human diplomats tried to follow his lead. Humanity had been given observer status in the Council, a chance to learn before becoming a full member. So they watched and waited, learning the laws of trade, energy, and diplomacy. Years passed. Humanity advanced quietly. They listened more than they spoke. They sent scientists and students to learn from other worlds. Earth's cities became cleaner, their energy sources brighter, and their ships faster. Yet still, the Council mocked them. The insult that changed everything came one evening during a grand gathering known as the Summit of Progress. Delegates from every world presented new inventions and discoveries. When it was Earth's turn, Daniel stood with pride and introduced a new kind of star drive, one developed using principles no other race had considered. It was small, efficient, and entirely built by humans. He demonstrated it with a model ship, showing how it folded space more smoothly, reducing the energy cost by half. The human engineers in the audience beamed with pride. But before he could even finish, laughter filled the hall. One of the Council elders, a tall being covered in soft blue light, spoke in a tone that made every word sting. How adorable. The primitives think they've reinvented travel. Did you use metal tools and fire again, little Earthborn? The laughter spread like a wave. Daniel stood still. He had heard insults before, but this time the laughter felt different, colder, crueler. Behind him, he could see the faces of his team, young engineers who had worked day and night, scientists who had left families behind. He saw disappointment turning into quiet anger. Daniel did not respond. He packed the model ship, thanked the assembly, and left the hall. He knew Earth had been patient long enough. When he returned to Earth, he met with leaders, scientists, and thinkers. His message was simple. It was time to stop asking for approval. For the first time, humanity agreed. No more seeking validation, no more waiting for respect. Earth stayed still, but its silence now carried purpose. The Council noticed. The humans stopped sending delegates. They withdrew from joint projects. Their communication lines remained polite but distant. When asked to participate in new trade agreements, they simply declined. Decades passed again. Other worlds moved on, thinking humanity had given up or turned inward. Yet quiet signals still pulsed from Earth's system, encrypted and unreadable. Observers who tried to visit found their ships turned away by invisible barriers of energy. No one knew what Earth was building, but everyone sensed something vast beneath the silence. Then, one day, the silence broke. A faint pulse echoed across the galactic channels, a new frequency, clear and precise. It was an open message sent from Earth to the Council. Humanity requests audience. It had been 50 years since they last spoke. The council accepted the request out of curiosity more than respect. When the transmission began, the main chamber filled with light as Earth's representative appeared. Not Daniel, but a young woman named Mira. Her voice was calm but strong. For many years, we listened. We learned. We accepted the words others spoke about us. You called us reckless, fragile, emotional. You said our ideas were crude. You said we were too young to understand the universe. You were wrong. The chamber grew still. Mira continued. We stayed quiet because we wanted to grow. We wanted to understand you before showing what we truly are. You see, we never stopped building. We never stopped thinking. And now we wish to show you something. Behind her, the image shifted. It showed a ship. Massive, elegant, unlike anything the council had seen. Its surface shimmered with soft light, and space itself seemed to ripple gently around it. This is the Dawn Voyager, Mira said. It can travel between stars without folding space or tearing it. It doesn't use energy crystals, warp corridors, or dimensional routes. It moves by harmonizing with the gravity of the universe itself. The delegates murmured in disbelief. One asked, impossible. Such movement would require control over the fabric of reality. Mira smiled faintly. Then perhaps you understand why we waited until now. The transmission ended. At first, the council thought it was a trick. But within hours, their own sensors detected distortions across hundreds of light years. Human ships appeared, not emerging from hyperspace or jump gates, but simply arriving. No trace of engines, no radiation trails, only gentle fluctuations in gravity fields. The council panicked. They sent messages demanding explanations, but Earth replied with quiet courtesy. They offered trade again, not to prove worth, but to share knowledge as equals. Some worlds accepted eagerly, others hesitated. The elders who had once mocked humanity avoided the topic entirely. The memory of their laughter now felt like a shadow hanging over the chamber. A few curious delegates traveled to Earth, expecting to find a militarized world full of arrogance. Instead, they found calm cities, bright skies, and people working together. They found machines powered by light, ships built with living alloys, and children learning to speak multiple galactic tongues. They asked how Earth had advanced so far so quickly. The humans only replied, by being ignored. The council had never realized how strong silence could be when filled with purpose. Humanity had turned every insult into determination, every doubt into progress. Months later, when the next Summit of Progress was held, the council invited Earth to speak first. Mira stood again in the center of the hall. There was no laughter this time. She began gently, not with pride but understanding. We do not seek revenge or glory. We only ask for respect. The galaxy is vast and there is room for all, but respect cannot be demanded. It must be earned through patience and sometimes through silence. As she spoke, every delegate listened. Some even lowered their heads. The council elder who had mocked Daniel so long ago rose slowly and said, "We were wrong." For a long moment, the chamber stayed silent. Then, one by one, representatives across the hall placed their emblems of unity before them, the sign of acknowledgement. From that day on, Earth was no longer seen as a young or fragile world. It became a center for innovation and peace, not through dominance, but through quiet strength. Years later, when Mira retired, she visited the old archives and looked at recordings of Daniel's first meetings. She watched the laughter, the scorn, and the way he stood still through it all. She smiled softly and whispered, "You were right to stay calm. Above Earth, the Dawn Voyager floated silently among the stars, reflecting blue light across the black sky. It was not a weapon or a symbol of power. It was a reminder that humanity's greatest strength was not its technology or ambition, but its resilience. When the galaxy had mocked them, they did not shout back. They waited, learned, and grew. And when the time came, they spoke through action, not anger. The universe had expected noise, war, and chaos from Earth. Instead, it found balance, determination, and quiet brilliance, and so, the phrase spread among the stars, a saying that every young species whispered when others doubted them. Earth stayed still, until the insults went too far. Because sometimes silence isn't surrender, sometimes it's the breath before the storm of progress, and in that stillness humanity had found its voice.